Good morning, everybody. All right, we have an explosive episode today, and I hope you guys will stick around for it. And if you haven't already subscribed, I'd love for you to. My channel is about human potential and reaching it, and part of it is telling a new story. So, because we've been brainwashed to believe that we're insignificant where we're not. And so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe and share, and I'll see you on the episode. All right, so today, what I'm going to be talking about, this is a big one for me. And I knew I was going to do this one day soon, and I think there's no better time to do it than now, today. It's going to be about the Q and British Intelligence, CIA's counterpart, Project Looking Glass, Bill Wood's unstoppable timeline, and why I'm even talking about Bill Wood is because yesterday I was listening to Jean from Inspired, and he was talking about Bill Wood's interview with Casey Cassidy, and I think it was like in 2010 or something like that, maybe before, but I had watched that same interview many times. And then also Bill Wood has these other, I guess you can call it video drops that he emailed to this woman to put up on, he's off the grid, to put up on YouTube. And those were, I think, from like 2015. Yeah. And so he said some things, and I thought, you know what? Because I know a lot about this, and you have to understand we are in an operation. And that's what I'm going to be explaining today in this YouTube episode. It's very important that you understand that. And I'm 100% behind Trump and Dan Scavino, because I know that things don't look right for a reason, and because we're in an operation, and it's important. To be alive today, and which I'm going to be explaining, is incredible, and I'll get into that. So let's go ahead and begin. I've named this episode Q, Intelligence, and the Technology Behind the Awakening, because there is some technology behind it. And so, when we think about James Bond, we think of the adventure, right? Anyways, I do. The tuxedo and the chase scenes, the glamour, but behind all of that, behind every impossible escape, there has always been this quiet, brilliant presence shaping the mission Q. And that's where it comes from. So today, I want to take you into this full story, not just a fictional character, because this isn't fictional. We have a true blue operation happening globally. But in the United States, I'm going to talk about. But the real intelligence story behind Q is how the British Naval Intelligence inspired one of the most iconic roles in cinema. And we all know James Bond, 007, and how the CIA mirrored this blueprint in the United States. That's how the CIA became. And how all of this connects to something infinitely bigger, okay? Infinitely bigger. But I was going to put in this a little part of, what is it? In-Q-Tel. And I think I'm going to do a separate video on that. But this is, it's a guy, his name is Gilman. Gilman is the first name, but I forget the last name. I can't remember. He started in QTEL, and he invested in, he gave money to Peter Thiel to start Plantier. So that's another whole thing. And then I have like I kind of did some background on that and looked into how the making, I did a pattern recognition on the whole from the start to now. So I'll do that later. But let's go ahead and let's go into the Project Looking Glass. And I'm going to put down below, I'm going to put Jean's, the Inspired is the name of the YouTube channel. I'm going to put that link so you can go to them and listen. It's only like 25 minutes and listen to what he has to say, because I think it's good too. So let's go ahead and get this on the road. And the Project Looking Glass and the awakening timeline that Bill Woods said would not be stopped. Remember, he said there's nothing, when he went in and they brought him in because they were having problems with the looking glass coming to the same exact outcome. And so he said that everything that he looked at, it was like, yes, the timeline's going there. This is what's going to happen. And it couldn't be stopped. That's what they came to. And because according to him and many others, they brought in all experts, no matter what variable, they attempted to try to do different variables. No matter what manipulation is applied, no matter what global events unfold, every possible future ends in the same way. And this is very important to understand this, okay? Because the looking glass was a technology that told the future. And this is what the elites were using through manipulation, through us, manipulating us. And in the awakening, let's begin. So where Q originated, Q isn't just a creative Hollywood archetype, okay? It isn't. And I know everybody knows about the Q drops and what have you, but it's more than that. And he actually has a very real, very historical origin. Now, we're calling it he, but let's just leave it at that, okay? Q stands for Quartermaster, the head of the Q branch, and the experimental research and development division of MI6. Okay, that's how it started. And he's the genius behind Bond's gadgets, weapons, which I always loved, in the vehicles, and the high-tech tools. I think everybody loved that. I mean, I know that I watched all the James Bond because I always wanted to see the gadgets. But here's what most people don't know. That Ian Fleming, the author of James Bond, served inside the British Naval Intelligence in World War II. He worked closely with engineers and inventors whose sole job was to design disguised weapons, exploding devices, secret communication tools, micro cameras, and tracking gadgets, intelligent prototypes, decades ahead of their time. And this is like true blue real. I mean, we've had these. This is nothing though. I mean, to me, when I think about there's a technology that was found, well, they say in 1930, but I think it was before that. I think it was, I mean, as far as I can go back, it looks like maybe around the 1920s, and it's a living, energetic technology. It's alive. I've seen it 2 times. And what it is you can use this for good or you can use this for bad. And they got a hold of it, and they say they got a hold of it in World War I, the English. And this is what I tracked back to. And look at it like this. What I saw was an actual living energy ball. And it can be manipulated to whatever they want to do. And it's like an atom, like a live atom about this big is what I saw, like about that big. And I mean, it can disguise people and to where they can walk through walls. And they, like, let's say, like, you secure your house, but that doesn't matter because they can use the living energetic technology to come through your back door, your front door in an invisible manner. But it still shows like this, like a frame, but like an energetic frame, like almost like a electric magnetic kind of a wave. That's what it looks like. So all these gadgets, to me, this is, of course they could do that. I mean, that's nothing. So, but the living energetic technology, I mean, we would be, like right now, I look at us in Stone Age in a lot of ways. With that, if it was used for the good, oh my God, it would be magnificent for our world. So I'm going to do a whole video on that because I think people need to know what they're hiding from us, the military industrial complex and Raytheon and all these Martin, that other one, I can't think of the name of it, but anyways, and we have to get our hands on that. The good people have to. So let's get back to this. So one of these real inventors, Charles Fraser Smith, was essentially the living version of Q, which makes me think about all this. It makes me go back to the living energetic technology because the British got it from World War I. And Fleming even referred to him privately as the Q branch. So Q wasn't fiction, and he was a direct reflection of real intelligence work, the hidden technical world behind the global power. I think there's so much that we just don't know, but I really believe a lot of it comes from the living energetic technology. And that's, I'm sticking with that. No one's going to talk me out of it because I've seen it twice, and I don't know if God wanted me to see it, but I'm going to do a separate video so I can tell you how I saw it because it's important. So the Q is a CIA's equivalent. So look at it like that, okay? And now, who is the American version of Q? Inside the CIA, the closest counterpart is the Office of Technical Services, and often called OTS. And they build covert communication systems, biological tools, surveillance gear, disguise technologies, and weapons, and experimental intelligence hardware. So they were behind the dozens of the Cold War devices, and the public never even learned about that. So once again, I think it's that living, probably the English shared. I'm sure in the CIA we have a lot of English people in there. That's what I believe. And so the same as the Q branch, okay? And they supplied MI6 with tools that the world wasn't ready to understand. Now they're telling us we won't understand, but really that's what MI6 and that's what our CIA says. But what it is they're keeping it for themselves. It's not that we don't understand. They're looking at us like the cattle and the little us, the insignificant little people down in the, working the little jobs. But this is all going to come out. You'll see. So both nations created their own secret Q division. Not as a fictional idea, but as a core pillar of real intelligence operations. And we are in an intelligent operation right now. Things don't make sense. They don't look right, but this is how operations work. And you have to understand that. So beyond the gadgets and the hidden layer of intelligence technology, here's where the story moves beyond spy gear. Because intelligence agencies don't just operate in a physical world. They attempt to map. Anybody that read the Q drops understands this. There is a map to everything. Just like pattern recognition helps to map everything. And that's what I use. I use my pattern recognition, and it's always served me well. So they attempt to map our consciousness, snuff us out through poisons. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, they map us. They have a device that is a frequency device on all of us. And they know our energy. And they dumb us down by chemtrails, by 5G machines all over, up and down the street. Those things, those big round things that they put up. And they do other things. And the probability, they map us through probability. What will we do next? And they already have a answer for that. Like they interject, they manipulate, let's call it that. And then timelines, they map timelines, perception, and the architecture of reality itself. This is why the surveillance state, they need surveillance because they keep an eye on everybody, and they're able to use the mapping system, the pattern recognition, to know what to do next, and they can feed that into like the looking glass, or they said they shut that down, but I don't think they did. They use the supercomputer, and then they go ahead and they can make their next move. So if you, for example, okay, let's say that they have cameras in my home and devices to listen. So if they can hear everything I'm saying and see what I'm doing, they can play you as a game. Like, for example, let's say that I went on to a tarot card reading on YouTube, okay? And they can pay that tarot card reader, and they can tell them, they would say this, can you do us a favor? We'll pay you probably only like $2. Who knows? I mean, don't ever listen to one tarot reader. I'm sorry, but I'm not in. I mean, I had to do a paper on it, so I was studying it for a few years, and it's a first of all, you don't listen to somebody else's advice. You go within because you have the guide already inside of you. You know yourself better than anybody else. So let me get back to the story. The thing is they can pay the tarot, and then what they can do is they can say, okay, tell her that there's a second chance coming, or tell her that there's love coming into her life. Then they can do all kinds of things. Or maybe something you said in your house, like maybe you found out that this one guy was sleeping on his boyfriend's sofa, and then they hear you maybe talking to somebody on the phone. You say, oh my God, you wouldn't believe it, this guy. I found out he wasn't sleeping on his girlfriend's sofa. He was sleeping on his boyfriend's sofa. And maybe they hear that, and then they pay the tarot to kind of give a little edge to, like, if you're watching it and they say something like that you said, and then they give you a message on, like, you have a chemical imbalance, let's say, because they didn't like what you said. And this is true. And I know it sounds crazy, but this is the stuff that they do. And we're talking about agents. They employ so many intelligent agents in all branches of military. And that is a control tactic that they've been doing for a very long time. And we really see, they disguise it as we're catching the terrorist. We're catching the terrorist, but really, they're not catching the terrorist, because as we see, everything that happens, they never catch them, which is a lie. And I want you to keep that on the back burner, because I'm going to swing back around on this. But this is how it goes. And this is why they can control reality, and they can even control psychological groups of people by putting devices in people's house. Remember what they did to Trump? They put in a device in the wall on his first term that hurt people in the White House. This is how dangerous these people are. So we're not dealing with a full deck here. We're dealing with psychopaths. So, and that brings us to the project of Looking Glass. Okay, and this is where it gets really deep, and this is where it's important. And I hope you really listen to this. So, Bill Wood and the future that could not be changed. Okay. So he was a former naval intelligence officer, Navy intelligence officer. And Bill Wood spoke about a device or system, okay, called the Looking Glass. And he said it allowed analysts to view potential futures. A lot of the stocks, people from the elites, you wonder how they became billionaires. They used it for that too. Believe it or not. I know it's wild, but it's true. And not in like the mystical way did they use it, but through a physics-based consciousness interactive model. Okay? So no matter what inputs, and this is really the part that truly matters, okay? Because they brought in tons of experts to try to figure out why the Looking Glass kept saying the same result, the same happening. This is what's going to happen. No, you can't do that. Still going back to the same thing. Okay. So no matter what inputs the operator tried, no matter what manipulation they attempted, no matter which scenario they ran, the system kept giving the same final outcome. A singular convergence. Yesterday I was telling you about the singularity. Okay? Well, I'm going to tell you now, okay, what it means. A point in the future where humanity wakes up to a higher perception of truth, because we're all tired of not getting the truth, right? And we see it with Charlie Kirk. I mean, we're just not taking it. This is why everybody needs to help turn in information that they may have to Candace Owens. I mean, whatever. If you were there and you have video and you don't think it's worth anything, don't even, just send it, because there might be something you don't see that they see. So send any photos, videos, everything to Candace Owens, and you can go to her channel and she has an email. But this is a bombshell, you guys. It's happening. And we're going to get justice, and they know it, and they can't stop us. And it's freaking beautiful. So, a point in the future where humanity wakes up to a higher perception of truth. According to Bill Wood, the people who depend on control were terrified of this. Just freaking the F out, okay? Just terrified. This German guy, Tim Tactics, he said they're so paranoid and that they live in paranoia. And I'm like, good, that's good, because they should. After what they've done to our children and us and our beautiful world, So, because for the first time, the power structure saw a future they couldn't alter. This is why we have to start smiling and laughing, but we still have to fight, because it's, we have to bring, we're part of it. We're it. We're the people. We're the ones, the little significant little ones that they try to make us small. We're the power. Okay? So Bill Wood said, whatever they do to try to stop this, they can't. They can't do it. All possibilities and probabilities lead to the same outcome. That outcome is the awakening timeline. And there's going to be the biggest effing truth bomb coming our way. And I'm so happy to be alive, because so many things have happened within my family from these crooks, these mobsters. I cannot wait to see this happen. So now we merge everything everything that you think, oh, we'll never get to the truth. We'll never, merge and get the justice. Take that out of your mind and stop it. Yes, we are. We are. It's happening. So what Bill Wood meant when he said they can't stop it is this. Everything I'm about to share is the core of what Looking Glass revealed. And what I believe is unfolding right now before our eyes is the collapse of the false narratives. And I always knew that this was going to happen, but we humans, we in some ways there's so much deception. It's like, good God, how could this even happen? Like, here we go again, like They're putting the boogeyman over here that this guy did it when it's not true. And you think, good God, when is it going to stop? Okay? The first phase of the awakening is always the same. Okay? Listen to this. The stories that held people in place begin to fall apart. And this is what Charlie Kirk, it's falling apart. And all of us, we're not going to let this slide. The media narratives, the political narratives, the economic narratives, the historical narratives, and the scientific narratives, they're all falling apart. We see it, we know it, and we're not taking the bullshit anymore. And people feel the lies before they fully understand them. Like all of us, we knew that Charlie Kirk, it's an inside job, and we know it. We know that Tranny and that kid didn't do it. And you can attach them to the furry people wearing the animal outfits and stuff, but maybe you should attach that to Silicon Valley, because those freaks over there are freaks. And that's what they do. They dress up. Remember in the Q drops, they expose men, grown men wearing bunny outfits with babies crawling on the ground. That was a psychological operation, and it's disgusting. And I was like, good God, what don't we know? Right? So that's how I'm looking at it. And a mass realization of systematic manipulation. It's all going to come out. We're all going to see it. The population we'll start to see, all the population in the world will start to see the full architecture of this system. They're already. I mean, I look around like in different countries, and I see people are not happy with the BS and the lies. They're not. Every country. You guys, it's not just us. This is why you have to be careful. Don't hate on other countries. This is happening to everybody in every country. And then there's the bad eggs in each country, right? So because in Europe, they hate us because they think we're the monsters and we're the global, taking over and going in and we're the ones that have more military bases in every single country. And no one else can have a base where we're at or anywhere else. Something to really kind of, you have to look at this. You can't just, you have to look at the pattern of what's happening. So the systems were not designed for humans. Their system was not designed for us. Empowerment, but for control. They have to have control, these people. You can't say certain things. You can't talk about certain things. You can't talk about these people or that. And if you do, you're going to get, in trouble. And the financial system, the global military alliances, the surveillance networks, all of it becomes visible. It's all going to be, we're going to see it all. And once you see the structure, you can't unsee it. And that's why I'm talking about surveillance state. I'm bringing up everything because, we heard all about this during the WikiLeaks, but then now WikiLeaks, Julian Assange is nowhere to be found, and I don't blame him. He's been locked up for years. And then Snowden, he can't say anything because, he had to escape too for everything he gave, on the surveillance state. And everybody wants to call him the spy, the CIA spy. Once a CIA, always a CIA. Well, there's good people in every branch too. They're not all bad, but we have a lot of bad though. I do want to say that. We have a lot of people. I mean, I don't want to get into trouble, but people that are American that have gone and worked in Australia and New Zealand, and I've met those people before by accident. I was invited to a couple things here in town. And one guy can't even go back to New Zealand, and I caught him in my purse upstairs on my phone. And then there's another person that was in intelligence and worked in Australia, and she hates America. And you have to start wondering, like, what's wrong with our military? What do we do? Like, who is, doing this? Like, who are they hiring? This is why we have to clean everything out. But it's all going to unfold anyways, and we're gonna get to everything. So the centralization of power. Okay. And as the truth rises, I want to say this, everything, you're going to want to come back to this video and you're going to see it. The centralized control will weaken, and it's all going to be shown right in front of our faces. And this is why with one of the Q drops, they said they won't be able to walk down the street. Kind of interesting, isn't it? And we enter the world where this is going to happen. This is what I believe. It's the media decentralizes, information decentralizes, financial power decentralizes, influence decentralizes, and authority decentralizes. Because all that has to decentralize. That's the old power hierarchy fractures. And that has to go, right? And that's when that awakening accelerates. And we're seeing it right now in front of our eyes. We don't need a freaking chip, though, either. If anything, we need a decentralized, some coin. We have to do that, because we don't need a chip where we say something you're not allowed to say and they cut you right off. JP Morgan or, whatever, credit card or whatever, right? So the cognitive shift in human awareness is happening now. It's not going to happen when, we're already seeing it. I see it. I know many thousands of people are seeing it. And this is really the real fear of this cold old world. It is. These people, that have to have control and have to manipulate every single thing. It's weird. And people start thinking differently. Faster, deeper, and more intuitively. I see a huge shift in people having more intuition, and that's our God inside of us, you guys. It is. And they've poisoned us and given us things that take away our light. And we're not going to have that anymore. So they see the patterns. They sense deception. These are all what everybody's waking up to. They connect the dots. They feel truth in their body. And human perception evolves. And that's what we're seeing now. And when consciousness rises, manipulation falls right down. And this is what Bill Wood really meant. And that there is a timeline of truth. And this is the moment that Looking Glass kept predicting. And this is what I'm going to go through right now. The timeline where truth cannot be suppressed. This is what the Looking Glass said. And they were going nuts, these elites. They were going bonkers. The timeline where human beings remember who they are. The timeline where sovereignty replaces obedience. The timeline where awareness replaces illusion. The truth timeline is the future humanity keeps collapsing into no matter what the control system does. They are trying to snuff and do so many dirty things right now, but it's not working. It's not going. And they know it. And they can't stand it. And what I think is coming next is this. A geopolitical instability. We're seeing that. Not because dark forces are winning, but because their systems are collapsing. And they're fighting like freaking cat and dog to try to keep us into a war we don't want to be in. And this is why a lot of them now don't want our help and this and that. But, you know, the one problem with that is who knows they don't nuke us. That's what I'm thinking. So, but we won't allow that because we're 10 steps ahead. We know we've known their moves for eons, what they'll do. So that's number one, geopolitical instability. 2, collapse of the trust in institutions. People will demand transparency, accountability, and truth. And that's what we see that we're doing with Charlie Kirk. And we're calling out Kash Patel. And, you know, I read his book and he seemed like it was so like he knows what's going on. So sometimes I have to go back. We are in an operation. And sometimes things don't make sense for a reason. And I'm kind of keeping that on the, back burner, okay? 3, a new era of transparency. Whistleblowers, leaks, exposures, everything hidden rises. Now, we have already seen the whistleblowers, and we're going to see a lot more. They're behind right now, ready to come out. Lots. Leaks are going to, remember, drop, drop, drip, drip, flood, okay? And these people, I can spot them in freaking thousands of miles away. They're trying to pretend like they're on our side because they know they have treason behind them. And I just know people. I can track them through pattern recognition. You can see that everything they're saying is a lie. So, it's kind of interesting for me to just watch and just see, good God, these people are desperate, but they're going to be found out too, and they didn't have to crook. No one held their hands behind their back and said, do it. No, they chose. We all get to choose, remember? That's why to try to be benevolent and to be good is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. You want to be a purist. And, the only thing with me, I cuss a little bit too much, but I'm getting a hold of that now. So I'm kind of happy about that. But let's move on. Number 4, the decentralization of power. And that is communities reclaim agency. Okay? Independent voices rise. 5, a spiritual intellectual awakening. This is so important. This is what I believe. People recognize their sovereignty. They stop consenting unconsciously, like that thing that they planned that masterful with the freezers out in New York City and sick. But you know what? No bodies were going in there. That was all one big show, Hollywood show, you guys. And they step into their full awareness. 6, diverging paths of consciousness. Some cling to the old world, others step into the emergence of a new human frequency. And this is why I'm writing my book, because I don't want to say we're victims, but when the installation was put over us for the last 200 years, like really hardcore, I mean, it was like, it was a punch right in the gut, okay? And this is when they started the poisons and they, manipulation of the seed, foods and everything else. But then in the last 150 years, it just got okay? So reaching our full potential, okay? And the new human narrative, this is the story that I speak about, is that it's a new human story. And that's what we're going to be evolving into. Which is so beautiful, because we've had this veil, which I call the installation over us, where, they took advantage of our kind hearts and our kind ways, because that's who we are. That's our essence. And they know that, and they used it against us, and we believed them. But no longer do we, because now their little clever little tricks aren't going to work. And we know who they are, what they've done. And now they're paranoid little freaks, furry freaks. So the old world is dissolving and the new one is being written right now by us, by all of us. And I'd like to finish with this, is that the future that the looking glass saw and the millions of people feel intuitively isn't the end. It's not. It's the beginning. It's the moment when humanity finally sees itself clearly, when the illusions no longer work, when people reclaim their power, and when consciousness rises faster than control can suppress it. And this is why Bill Wood said they can't stop it. Because once the species crosses the certain threshold of awareness, its evolution becomes unstoppable. And that is exactly where we're headed. And the awakening is not coming. It has already begun. You guys, this is the greatest time to be alive, and support President Trump and Dan Scavino. I've been praying for you two so much, because I know this operation is not easy, and I'm doing my best to help on my part. I want you guys to know that. And we have a lot of beauty coming and beautiful things. So let's do this. Help Candace Owens with whatever information you have. Send it to her. Even if you think it's insignificant, send it anyways. Because sometimes we're not aware to see something, but someone else is. So I love all you guys. What a time to be alive. And let's do this. And let's look forward to the future.